Next, on the boardroom, JT Rotman presents Paws Dog Barkery to the board for advice.
I'll preface before I start tonight by simply saying my audience for the past year has been dogs, so a lot of my presentation skills may be somewhat tarnished. My name is JT Rotman. I'm the president and founder of Paws Dog Barkery. Though we've been in business officially for 3 years, we really just went full-time last year when we opened our retail boutique in Plano. I'd like to thank first the panelists for having me. What a tremendous opportunity for anybody in business or anybody just learning about business. I look forward to the invaluable information that hopefully I'm about to receive. What do I want to take out of this opportunity? First, I'd like to begin by saying just sitting down, preparing notes, providing charts, gathering information really kind of gave me back that laser-like focus that you spoke of earlier. And it made me identify some low-hanging fruit that perhaps I had been missing. So just in preparing for this evening, I was able to identify lots of opportunity. First and foremost, if I've learned anything about building this brand and being in business, it's that you have to sometimes steal shamelessly, as I like to put it, and by that I mean not reinventing the wheel. And taking advice and constructive criticism from anybody that's willing to get it. So first, that's really what I'm interested in getting from the board tonight. I feel like our company is at a tipping point right now, so certainly I would like input on how to get to the next level. Our biggest opportunity lies in our wholesale and online sales, so I would entertain any advice that anyone can give regarding those two venues. Finally, although I'm happy to be at the break-even point on the business on a monthly basis, we're at a break-even point, and here's where I'm going to get the real heat. I am not taking home any money because I've always just put it right back into the business. So when you put it that way, it's not really break-even. So that would be great if we could change that. I've bootstrapped the business for the past few years. And really, I think the biggest thing I want to find out is, should I seek investments? If so, what would be the best venues for that? I know I certainly have my ideas of where I want the business to progress over the next few years, our long-term goals, but, perhaps there's a better route in getting there. A little story about my business and the experience. The first question that everybody always asks me when they walk into the boutique or they see me on the street is, how on earth did you come up with an organic dog treat and why are you selling them? I've always enjoyed baking for people, dogs too. I volunteer at my local shelter. I have 4 dogs. So in essence, part of the reason that the business was started is so I could be around what I love to do. Second, it's so I don't end up on an episode of Animal Hoarders. The store provides me the venue to hold adoptions and to give back to the community in another way where I don't have to keep taking in stray animals. In 2009, I registered an LLC. Years ago, when I lived in Maryland, I owned a successful commercial cleaning business that I sold because I really did not like the business at all. It was a very lucrative business. Commercial contracts at that point were somewhat easy to come by if you could get in on a bid. And I sold it because I just wasn't enjoying it. In 2011, I was actually laid off. I was a retail district and regional manager for years for some specialty retailers. And I decided, it's time to use that LLC I started and still have, and that's when I decided to go full-time with Paws Dog Barkery. And I decided organic dog treats was the way to go because it was something that I was passionate about, organic ingredients both for people and for pets. And it also gives me a way, as I said, to give back to the community through local adoption events. We do different fundraisers and different ways to raise money for the community. Having spent the last 15 years in retail management, my territory was realigned last year in June, as I mentioned, and rather than be upset about it, I kind of ran out the door jumping up and down. I was done babysitting adults, as I like to phrase it. I apologize to anybody who works in retail. It's not what it used to be years ago, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And for me, what I do, I need to have fun and I need to be passionate about it. I've always been a risk taker, and with a little more than a dozen wholesale clients and lots of events scheduled, I decided we're going to throw ourselves into our biggest billboard yet, our brick and mortar location. I signed in a lease last June. It's been a year, and we actually opened in September of last year. The foundation of our business is certainly dog treats, specifically organic dog treats packaged in eco-friendly packaging. In an effort to stand out from thousands of other dog bakeries online and wholesale, we decided to go organic. Furthermore, we wanted to be conscious of the environment, and although the packaging may cost a little bit more than some of the other packaging we could use, the packages are actually made from recycled material, and they can be composted because the plastic in the front is actually plant polymer that's biodegradable. Each year, pet parents spend $55 billion on their pets, and through the recession, the exciting thing for me to see when I did my research is they still had year-over-year growth during the downturn in the economy. Although it wasn't the double-digit increases that it saw for many years, it still increased the last 2 years by at least 6 to 7%. And most exciting, the most underserved segment of the pet industry is the organic and all-natural treat and pet food line. According to Forrester Research, the segment's expected to grow 76% between 2010 and 2014, thus creating a huge piece of the bone for the taking. While there are other barkeries out there that use organic ingredients, many of them also include white flour, preservatives, and decorate their treats with lots of sugar, which can be detrimental to pets over time. Our core line of treats is referred to our everyday treats, which include popular canine flavors like peanut butter crunch, pollock and chicken, belly rub and bones or a beef flavored treat. We do barkin' for bananas, Cinemark hearts, just to name a few. These treats retail for $6.95 and $9.95 for the half-pound and pound bags, respectively. Our limited ingredient treats, which are wheat, gluten, and corn-free, come in autumn spice, strawberry love, peanut butter crunch, liver relief, diggin' ginger, and what we call the star-spangled berry. These treats have unique flour bases to them, such as organic quinoa flour, organic brown rice flour, and even organic garbanzo bean flour. So dogs with sensitive stomachs and dogs who typically can't have any wheat products can also enjoy the treats. This particular line retails for $8.95 and $12.95 for the half-pound and pound bags and equates to about 25% of our sales. Available in the boutique and through wholesale, we also offer a line of cakes and pastries. Some of our best-selling pastries right now are the blueberry muffins, apple cinnamon muffins, and carrot cakes. If I had to pick a favorite, it's probably the carrot cake. Our cakes come in 3 sizes and are also all wheat, gluten, and corn-free. And our pastries range anywhere from $2.95 individually up to $44.95 for our largest cake. Also, in an effort to be different from the other bakeries, we did not want to alienate the customers who have come to expect decorated treats. I'm sure you've all seen it if you've ever walked past any dog store, any Petco, there's dipped and decorated treats. So we also do a line of organic treats that are dipped in carob. So we definitely get the decorated look and still have a market there. And those treats range from $1.50 to $3.95 a piece. And our most popular one is a martini-shaped glass dipped in carob and sprinkled with organically dyed sesame seeds, which we like to call the Pautini. Finally, our newest and fastest growing segment of our treats is our Chili Paws brand, organic frozen yogurt treats for dogs. Available in 2 flavors, peanut butter, banana, and blueberry. The 4-ounce cups retail for $2.95 individually or $9.95 for 4 servings. Since the soft launch of Chili Paws on May 15th, the retail boutique has sold 200 units in the first 60 days. We're now looking forward to rolling these treats out to our wholesale line, especially those boutiques that already have freezers in them to accommodate frozen foods for their customers. As for upcoming product launches, we really only lack in 2 areas, and I'm sure one of the pieces of feedback that I'll get, because I get it every day from my customers, is we need stuff for cats. It wasn't something that we thought about in the beginning. Certainly, we are coming out with a cat treat at the end of the month, so we can also serve customers that have dogs and cats. And the biggest demand, and something that we're lacking right now, is chicken jerky. Recently, all of the chicken jerky that's been imported from China has been linked to arsenic poisoning in dogs and cats. And U.S. organic chicken jerky is hard to come by, and people are willing to pay a ridiculous price for it. So we're already rolling out with it. We're moving forward and hope to have that out by fall. Now that I talked a little about the treats and things we do, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the packaging. I talked about the packaging having a negative effect on the environment, or a minimal negative effect on the environment. We actually produce all of our own packaging with the exception of the bag. We order bags ourselves, and then we print laser labels for all of the different labels that you see on the packaging, the nutritional information for the guaranteed analysis, our logo labels, as well as our bone labels, which indicate treat name. This enables us to change things as we need to. We don't have to commit to a certain amount of packaging at this point. To get the same cost we're at now for packaging, we would have to commit to about 5,000 units in each size of every flavor. And to be honest, we change recipes quite frequently just to keep up with consumer demand, or if we feel like somebody's on our tail, coming out with something that's very similar to our product. All of our hard treats are packaged in half-pound and pound-size bags. Pricing structure is based on savings when a larger quantity is purchased. For example, our most popular treat, the pollock and chicken, is actually $6.95 for a half pound and $9.95 for a pound. And surprisingly, the half pound is still the most frequently bought size out of all of our treats, whether it's in-store, online, or wholesale. Cakes and pastries are packaged in pastry boxes just like their human counterparts. Unfortunately, this packaging is one of our most expensive packaging costs. Chili paws are also packaged in recycled containers that can be recycled once the product is consumed. I'll mention a little bit on the ingredients we use. We wanted to take a holistic approach to the treats that we came out with. It's great that they're treats. It certainly can't be substituted for food. But when treating a dog who maybe is an older arthritic dog, cinnamon has great properties for help healing joints and blood circulation. So our Cinnabark Heart is a great treat for that. We also use a lot of apple cider vinegar in our treats, which is also great for joint supplement. Ginger is much like the human. It's good for settling stomach, and it's also gentle on the digestive system. And finally, blueberries, just like people, the antioxidant benefits are huge for dogs as well as people. In talking about where we sell our treats, currently we have 3 channels, wholesale, online, and in our barkery. Wholesale is perhaps our most underutilized selling channel at the present time. Currently we have about a dozen wholesale accounts order on a regular monthly basis. In the immediate area you will find our treats at all of the Pappy's Pet Lodges, Nouveau in Dallas, Tuxedo Paws in Valley Ranch, and at the Pooch Patio in Uptown. That being said, some of the accounts generate $5,000 to $6,000 per year and have increased our revenue, online revenue in these markets. When we set up the boutique, we didn't want to compete with ourselves. I knew I was going to open a boutique eventually, so I didn't do a whole lot of wholesaling here in the DFW area. We have large accounts in Florida, in California, and Chicago. Just today, the exciting thing for me was we assigned our first independent contractor for a commission-based sales position so we can build wholesale, because I really feel like that's where we're missing the boat. She is experienced in selling to wholesale accounts and is very motivated by the commission structure that I presented her with, which was a fun process coming up with that. The goal would certainly be to expand to another representative for Fort Worth and West so we can continue to grow sales. I would just like to make sure we've made the right decision with this independent rep before we move forward with anyone else. As far as wholesale consumers, we offer 50% off our retail prices to wholesale customers. It's pretty typical in the industry as well as many other items. Our only requirements for our clients is to ensure that they are not selling the product for less than we are selling it. They can't sell it any less than our suggested retail, but they are welcome to price it and charge what they would like. I have one client who gets $18.95 out of a bag that I sell for $9.95, so a good lesson for me was my prices may just not be high enough. Which resulted in a price increase about a month ago. Online sales, this is probably the most funny thing that's happened to me in the last 3 years with the business. When we first started out selling treats, definitely a part-time operation. I was really excited. I did the web design myself, trying to figure out how to do the HTML, the search engine optimization, and the biggest challenge is getting that shopping cart to talk to the credit card processor. And you know, weeks and weeks went by, and it was great. Everybody had great feedback. I will never forget the moment that I hit publish and then ran immediately to the shopping cart and kept refreshing, waiting for the orders to start rolling in. I look back now and laugh at all the gift with purchase we had set to go for those first few orders. So certainly that was a learning process for us. Certainly as time went on, the site comes up organically in Google results. But online sales of our treats are slow. We found that people generally would like to taste the treats or have their dogs taste the treats prior to purchasing. So most of our online consumers are repeat business or people we've met at outdoor events that are going home and then ordering online once they've had samples. We also offer a flat rate shipping online of $5.95 for any order, and we offer free shipping for orders over $50. Most of the time the shipping is still costing us about $1. Unfortunately, even our negotiated FedEx rates and the US postal rates just can't quite cut what we're charging for shipping, but we have to keep that rate to stay competitive with other online dog bakeries. Our boutique in Barkery, this is definitely our greatest vehicle for our sales to date. The store is located at Plano in the southwest corner of Custer and Parker. When sourcing a location, I did extensive research and first looked at Park and Preston in the Plano area, and also at the West Village and North Park Center in Dallas. Unfortunately, there were no spaces of the right size in North Park, nor did I want to pay the enormous rent that goes along with being in North Park. And West Village and Park and Preston, though great locations and lots of traffic, for a small specialty retailer, I really felt like we were going to get lost in the mix and not really stand out. We decided on our current location because we were able to find out the following. One of the last pieces of undeveloped land in Plano was just sold and is to be developed into $500,000 homes. It's about a block from the store, and that's certainly okay with me. Second, the intersection will outpace the Park and Preston intersection in Plano, if you're familiar with the busiest intersection in the city of Plano. And by 2013, the intersection of Parker and Custer is to outpace that intersection. And finally, I was able to negotiate a reasonable lease rate, but most importantly, the triple nets included electricity, which was one of our greatest costs when manufacturing the treats. Once we had decided on a location, the next hurdle certainly was store design. For those that remember, there was a TV show on in the late 90s called Providence. I think it made it a few seasons. One of the main characters' sisters had a dog barkery. I just thought that was the coolest thing since sliced bread. So that, coupled with my boutique experience, I decided to use that as a motivation for the design. So lots of brickwork and just lots of glass jars everywhere so a dog could come in and really be happy. I have some photos of the Barkery that John was nice enough to take when he was out. So I'll get those started as I talk a little bit more about what we do there. Once the design was complete, I ended up doing most of the labor and all the work myself. It was time to stock the store. Although I would love to think that all we needed was our own products, you have to be a one-stop shop in order to make it in the specialty pet business. And to get the pet parents to visit frequently, we needed to add a full line of treats, toys, chews, bedding, and clothing for dogs. I focused on products that you won't find necessarily at Petco or PetSmart, and we focus on products that are manufactured in the United States. Planet Dog, West Paw Design, American Antler, Dog Speak Cards, The Pet Set, Rockin' Doggy, and Natural Balance Dog Foods are all brands that we're proud to carry in the boutique that are manufactured in the U.S. About 50% of our sales of the store are 50% our product versus 50% wholesale product. In another effort not to be just another pet store, we boast an event center where we host a multitude of events. Yappy Hour, held the second and fourth Thursdays of every month from 7 to 9, where we provide light appetizers and glasses. It's a BYOB event, and certainly it's a lot of fun for dogs and dog lovers, and lots of fun for me at the end of the evening when people stock up. We also hold adoptions almost every other Saturday for local rescue groups. City of Plano, Lost Paws Rescue, All Border Collie Rescue are our most recent. Finally, we hold silent auctions and fashion shows for dogs in conjunction with benefits for local charities as well as shelters to raise funds for them. And one of the favorite things that we've done this past year was to have an angel tree for dogs in the store. Customers were able to bring in used dog items they wanted to donate, or they could purchase items directly from the store that rescues had indicated they could use the most. So it benefited both me and the rescue groups. Finally, earlier this year, we had a Super Bowl party for people and their pets, which translated into a great sense of community. We had a great turnout, and it was a great evening for sales on a typically otherwise probably dismal sales day. The core of our business, whether wholesale, online, or in the Barkery, is customer service. It's something I'm very passionate about. A lot of companies say that they're customer-centric, and then what they say and what happens when you go into a store is a completely different experience. So I say we're customer focused. You will never hear that in the store. You would just know by walking in that we're there for the dog. I say the dog is our customer. It's obviously the owner with money, but for us, the dog is the customer. Case in point, I had a customer arrive last week who orders on a regular basis specialty dog food. He arrived a week early. I did not have his special food in. I had not done the order that week. My part-timer did not skip a beat. Here's a free bag, a 5-pound size. We're so sorry. We'll order it. It'll be in. We'll deliver it to your door. He was blown away. He was very dumbfounded, and he's been in twice in the past week to purchase because he received such great service. In the long term, if we do expand to the 5 to 10 stores we anticipate, I want that experience to be there throughout. I don't anticipate franchising, although licensing may be an option, and I want to retain some control over the customer experience. A few tidbits on our customer. Our customer, who is our target customer? Our core customer is 25 to 55 years old and most likely female. 15% of our consumers are men. The largest age category is the 45 to 55 age group, and it surprised me and skewed a little higher than I anticipated, but what I'm finding out is that it's baby boomers with grown children and most likely grandchildren who now have dogs at home, who are now their substitute children. So once they go to the groomer, once they go to the dog park, they stop by for ice cream, they stock up on treats and food, and then they head home. 60% of our business to date is repeat business, and 40% is new business. Of those repeat customers, most purchase an average of 1 to 2 times per month and tell their friends about the experience. We ask each and every customer, how did you hear about us? And 90% of the time, it's through a friend or a loved one. What is most surprising, our customers is the socioeconomic background. The majority of our customers are solidly middle class or above. But the amount of low-income earners or unemployed people that come in and spend $100 a month on their dog was a real surprise to me. Finally, in an effort to reward customers, we have a loyalty program that we call Paws Points. We track the customers' purchases, both online and in the Barkery, and reward them with $5 back each and every time they accumulate $50 in sales. As a result, we have captured almost 2,000 email addresses since starting the program because it's a requirement to sign up. We hear time and time again is, I love your store. It's so cute. It's not at all what I expected. How fun. It smells so good in here. Are you a chain, and how do I franchise? The last part is something that I don't want to hear. Financial information, the average income. The company is currently averaging $5,000 a month in sales in the boutique. Average expenses, currently $49.16 per month in fixed expenses. Our greatest expense is certainly rent and triple net with a combined total of $2,300 per month. All money is being put back into building the business. Our average dollar sales since we've opened has been averaging about $25 per transaction. As I mentioned earlier, I am not taking anything from the business. I would like to change that. Estimated sales over the next 12 months are roughly $150,000. When averaging $5,000 a month, the big jump are several reasons that we're starting to see an increase. May and June typically in retail are slow periods anyway, certainly for the dog industry. Many people in June are out of school and going on vacation. We're about to enter into a couple of co-manufacturing deals. I'd rather not say with who right now for some supplement treats that will result in about $75,000 in those deals alone. Increased wholesale sales with the addition of sales reps. Up until this point, I've been doing everything myself. Through some research and coming to the boardroom, I've got great ideas, which has led to the independent sales reps being hired and really me relinquishing some of the control that I've had for so long. And finally, we've increased revenue and hope to increase revenue from a new updated website that came with SEO optimization, and really look forward to sales there. Finally, competition. Our biggest competition is from other barkeries that produce treats on site and bill themselves as a barkery. Locally, the greatest competitor here is 3 Dog Barkery, but we quickly learned we hold the advantage because not all of their treats are organic. And as a franchise, the ingredients and mixes are shipped in already. They're not really truly doing all of the mixing and baking. And their wheat, gluten, and corn-free line is very limited. I've obtained many customers who couldn't find what they wanted from 3 Dog. There are also a smaller number of boutique stores that offer treats, but they're currently buying them wholesale from someone online or another company and paying shipping. And this is really kind of the low-hanging fruit that I was talking about. It's kind of a no-brainer. Smaller independent stores, I get a lot of feedback from my customers. They cross-shop. They're usually standing waiting for some of them to open in the morning, and they're unwilling to order special order items. And online competition, Google organic dog treats, and you'll literally have 2.1 million hits when you Google that. So that's been very daunting. Our web sales are unimpressive, and that's why we've outsourced now the website and the SEO. In closing, my biggest challenges to date, traffic to the retail boutique is not consistent or predictable. Certainly in the first year you don't expect it to be, but I can't say, oh, every Tuesday between 2 and 4, this is the transaction count we're going to have, or every Sunday is going to be slow. I can tell you in a month of 4 or 5 Sundays, every Sunday is different. The next month it's different from that. The center has just recently been sold as undergoing renovations, so I expect this to continue for the next 3 to 4 months. Sometimes in the beginning we looked too much like a larger business to people before they really came in and went into the store, because I put so much thought into the website and having an email address for everything you could possibly want. A lot of people were surprised when they came into the Barkery for the first time that it was just one store. And finally, the other biggest challenge to date is I can't do it all. It's fun. I don't have to do it all to be successful. So really from the panel, I've bootstrapped the business thus far. What is the next best way to get to the next level? Certainly should I be seeking investors, and where would my time and money be best spent? So, thank you.
Great job. Gary, you want to kick off some questions?
Yeah, well, so I'm an IP lawyer, so I've got some questions about that. Did you search Paws before you decided to use that?
Yes.
Okay, and have you tried to register Paws?
It's registered, yes.
It is, federally?
Not federally.
At the state level?
State.
Texas, okay. The organics, how important is organics really to making your business work?
For the consumer, I would say it's very important, just because so many people come in seeking products that don't have any additives in it, and it allows us to carry a heavier price tag.
And what does that do to your costs?
The cost, actually, the only line that's truly more expensive because it is organic is the wheat, gluten, corn-free line. Those tend to be about 7 to 8 cents per ounce more expensive than the other treats because you're using quinoa and that type of thing. The everyday treats, because I can get the flours, the whole wheat flour, inexpensively, it's no different than using white flour in treats.
Right. Have you done any benchmarking against other barkeries? I guess that's a term that describes the type of store you've got, to know what the profit ought to be, versus your costs?
I've not been able to get any data as far as cost on other barkeries. I certainly go in and do price checking and that sort of thing.
Right.
Our margins are based on about 85 to 90%, because that's where I want it to be, but that's definitely a good point. It could be much higher.
85 to 90% is what your cost is versus the profit?
Oh, no, that's the profit margin.
Profit margin.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't sell any human food, do you?
We do not, and the only reason was to keep costs down for the barkery and the manufacturing. Is in the state of Texas, pet food's not regulated, so you don't need the stainless steel and the health inspection. Other states, even for pets, now require that. Looking back and perhaps going forward, I think it would be a great tie-in because I have clients that buy treats and eat them themselves.
Okay, let them pick up some ice cream while they're there. The chili paws, tell me a little bit more about that. Is that a fairly profitable item for you?
It is. It carries about a 78 to 80% margin, so a little lower for us, but I'm relying on the volume.
Right.
That's a single unit purchase, so they come back, most customers come back once a week for that.
Okay, and that's because it's frozen?
It's frozen.
Frozen. Do any of the products that you're selling show some kind of increase in volume sales that is greater than the rest of them? In other words, you can
kind of pinpoint?
Yeah, is chili paws one of those growth items that you have?
Chili Paws is probably the fastest growing product that we've had.
And why do you say that, I guess?
Just because the sales results in the first 2 months that it's been out exceeded, the everyday treats are, the wheat gluten corn free was a line we brought out after our core line,
Right.
and that was a little bit slow to take off, and I think mainly because people didn't know we had it at first.
Right. Why do you think that the chili paws are taking off the way they are?
I think it was a great time to launch in summer. It's been 100 degrees. We do sampling at the store, and they come in the 4-ounce cups. We do 1-ounce samples, and I pass them out to everybody in the store when they come in to make a purchase.
And my last question is about changing your recipes. Tell me a little bit about why you do that and how frequently.
Certainly. I probably led you to believe it's more frequently than not.
Maybe, yeah.
They certainly stay pretty stable. When I look for a percentage, crude analysis is the name of the game in the pet treats. If there's a moisture percent that I'm not particularly happy with, I like to change the recipe. Maybe it's just baking time, but it changes the moisture percent. And really I want to stay below 10%. So sometimes when we retest a treat, just because we're required to, it tests higher than I want, I adjust the recipe.
Right. Okay, that's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I've got several questions. First of all, I congratulate you. You've been very thorough in your presentation. Obviously, you've put a lot of thought into it. Now, you've asked several questions, and I'm going to respond to those questions first, and then I have certain questions about production. That comes from my being a food scientist, and so hopefully that will give you some ideas in terms of production scales. Okay, you mentioned that you're not taking any salary at the moment. So if you ask the question, where do I want to go with this? Do I need to expand this? Do I need to do that? My first question to you is, what is your current opportunity cost? Who is supporting you?
My business partner is helping to support me in savings from the past few
So
years.
meaning that to break even, you have to first put in that time, even at minimum wage, as a cost factor, because not doing so will be unrealistic. So it is far from being break even at the moment. So realistically, you might want to cost it so that it would be a more realistic factor at break even. You should at least draw minimum wage.
Right. Okay.
Right? Let's see. So how do you personally want to see yourself in this business?
I see myself hopefully continuing to lead the business. I see myself in more of a, I don't want to say training capacity, but I think my ultimate goal would be to expand, whether through licensing or corporate-owned stores, and really being the person to put systems in place and kind of direct the day-to-day big picture of all of the locations.
So let's say, for example, if you want to give yourself a minimum salary of $2,000 a month, so you would have put your cost factor higher there, and so that you would also have time to go home and sleep and play with your dogs. And so calculating how much of your personal time you want to put in there, and yet at the same time enjoy the creativity portion of the business. Clearly what you've done is highly creative. It's your own recipe, I take it, and you have a myriad of items. And I wish I had the paper printed up. I looked at your documents, and so when you look at the product mix and look at the margins of individual products, and you put that into a matrix to figure out which is more productive at what optimal level, so those would be numbers you want to be looking at. And talk more about that in looking at your cost and production matrix. The other item which you haven't presented here, which I read in your document, so it's not fair to the audience, the issue of your production equipment. At this moment, are you producing your products at capacity, or are you underutilizing your production equipment?
More than likely, we were underutilizing the equipment. With the equipment, the sheeters, the ovens, and the mixer, we could realistically probably be producing 5 to 10 cases a day of the treats, and we're probably doing half that right now.
Okay, at this point, your production equipment is under leasing,
Correct.
which could be very expensive. Have you explored purchasing used equipment, because production equipment lasts a long, long time? The mixers, are you using a Hobart mixer?
Yes,
Okay. What capacity?
20 quart.
Okay, so you're currently not mixing 20 quart per production yet,
No.
are you? Yes?
No.
Okay, so when you're looking at, I would certainly do an analysis on your most profitable product versus your most high volume product, and look at maximizing production capacity using your 20 quart mixer. That'll give you economies of scale, right? So at this time, before, and this is just me, I'm very conservative. I don't like to borrow money. I like to make use of something until it drops dead before I pull out another dime from my pocket. So you have a series of, you have many different types of equipment to go into production. I would look at those equipment pieces and look to see where you can, at the time when you need to terminate your lease, to go outright and buy used equipment.
Okay.
Then,
We're in the questions now.
pardon?
We're in the questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, but it ties in because I have to know whether or not you're using the equipment. All right, let me just skip over that. In terms of your quality control in your production, you're looking at different moisture content. What is the average shelf life of your product?
The average shelf life of the hard treats is 1 year. They've tested up to 2 years. I just don't want to stick that long of a label on an organic product.
So there are boundaries whereby it cannot be less than certain moisture content, cannot be exceeding a certain level of moisture content, because it affects shelf life. It also affects the weight and
the
how much
product.
you can sell for.
Yep. There's no requirement for the state of Texas or for AFCO guidelines.
Okay.
But what we've learned through research and making them is anything less than 10% will give you a longer shelf life, and ideally it should be around 8% to keep the shelf life as well as the volume in each bag.
So how long do you keep your product? Or how long do the current products stay on the shelf? You're selling
Certainly.
them faster than you need to keep them?
Right now, if you were to walk in the boutique, we're probably 9 out of our 15 treats are probably underproduced. They sit on the shelf. The longest is probably 2 months.
So who does all the baking?
Primarily, it's me, and I have help on the weekends that'll come in, but 90% is me.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, I have a few questions. First of all, why have you attempted to run 3 businesses?
Why have I what?
Attempted to set up and run 3 businesses. Because in truth and reality, you are running 3 businesses. Retail, online, which is a business all of its own, and a third, which is wholesale. Why all 3?
That's a good question. I guess I have not thought about each channel as a separate entity. But at the point I'm at now, I would agree. It's like running 3 separate businesses because they're all unique. I wanted to distribute the treats as best as we could and maximize the opportunity, but there were probably better ways to do it than trying to tackle all 3 at once.
My second question is, of all the products you've mentioned, approximately how many are there?
Out of the products that we
The whole
manufacture,
gamut of products you've mentioned, approximately how many are there?
15 if you were looking at flavors.
15 different products.
Right.
Okay. Of those 15, how many constitute about 80% of the dollars that come in?
I would say about 9 of them.
9 of them do. Okay, pretty good number. Okay, my next question is, the large retail chains like PetSmart and other large retail chains, have you ever attempted to try to sell to them on a wholesale basis?
I have
Private
tried.
labeling or under your label, either one?
I've tried under our own brand label. Their concern certainly is the volume that they don't think we can produce the volume. And two, I've not tried to do it under their brand name. I've not offered that.
Okay. Have you ever attempted to go to a wholesaler, like a Benny Keith, for example, to sell to their retailers that they sell to? Bad choice of a distributor, but the distributor concept.
Yeah, actually, we're talking with Central Pet. They're actually Central Pet. They're based in Dallas. They're in Phoenix, Colorado. They do a lot of the dog food distribution here, as well as treats, toys, that sort of thing. And I'm on the list to have the sales rep come out to my barkery. Their concern, again, is the quantity that they would require to keep in the warehouse.
Okay. Have you ever contacted somebody else who could produce your treat that was big enough and financially secure enough that if you oversaw the production according to your standards, that they're big enough and financially sound enough to handle a large wholesale order on an ongoing basis?
I have not. I researched in just the top level and what people will provide on websites. And when I looked at how much of the profit they would take, I decided that wasn't for me. But to get into some of the other distribution points, that's probably the best way to go.
Okay. That's it for right now.
Thank you.
I know this is question time, but I just picked up a standard poodle from Amarillo, Texas, 2 days ago. He's at home eating my house as we speak. And I live 1 block from your store. I'm very familiar with your store in that area and everything. You said $5,000 a month in revenue?
Correct.
And what'd you say expenses were?
About $49.16.
Wow. And 3 years in business?
Yeah, but this is the first. I mean, we're just going to be hitting a year with the store open.
At that location?
Yeah. Before we didn't have a physical location, and it was extremely part-time.
And to pick up on what this gentleman was talking about too, have you talked to Iams or Purina or any of the other big boys to, I know he asked some different, distributors or whatever. Have you thought about that?
I've not thought about those particular companies. There's a handful of dog food companies that produce the organics, and Iams, Purina, not really those companies, but it would lend me to research like Origin or Wysong. Those are certainly companies that produce the organic foods that would tie in nicely with the treats.
And what kind of advertising have you done?
Our best advertising has been targeted Facebook ads to the local people around the boutique. I've done some Craigslist ads, which gets lots of email inquiries. I paid for print advertising for the movie theaters, which included a 15-second commercial, which resulted in no return on investment. And I actually just bargained back half of my money because I was so dissatisfied. So for me, that's the advertising we've done. That's where I need to be spending more money. I'm just leery right now trying to figure out what is the best method to advertise.
So no, like Chamber of Commerce, or have you talked to any of the veterinary clinics? They're all over. I mean, Plano's got one on every corner.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of vets. What I'm finding there is they're paid to sell Science Diet and the other dietary things.
Okay.
Many of them have been put through school through those companies. So I approached holistic vets. And there's one in particular, I won't mention names, I invited him to come and present what he does at one of our Yappy Hours. You're trying to get him interested in the treats because it's a holistic product. And he's like, okay, great, I'll come and speak, but you have to buy $500 worth of my product. So that's been an avenue that I thought maybe could wait because there were people who were more willing up front.
And are there big pet trade shows in the DFW area?
They're all over the country. Some of the biggest ones are Super Zoo in September, and there's one in Orlando, the Pet Expo. They cost on average $2,500 to be an exhibitor, so it's something that we're looking forward next spring. But with opening the boutique last year, we just didn't have the funds to pay the entry fee.
I just think you're spread way too thin. And, I had a friend who helped start that Stubbs barbecue brand that we've all heard of. And what he did basically was he actually knew Stubbs when Stubbs was alive. There was a guy named Stubbs. And so he took his barbecue sauce and his recipe and went down to Whole Foods and went down to different grocery stores in Austin and actually handed out samples to people. I mean, this is what the guy did to get the brand off the ground. You're doing that with the chili paws. And I think the best way of sort of getting out of doing all this work and being able to focus on the product is probably to end up penetrating, grocery stores or pet stores or what have you. That's the best way to get growth. I think if you were talking to most investors, they would not be interested in, a group of stores that's going to be finite. What they want to see is growth and potential that's virtually unlimited. And the only way you're going to do that, I think, is to get out of the model of having a limited number of stores. Think of how much energy you're spending just thinking about this store and what's going to happen to it in the future. In order to make that replicate itself in other places, you're going to have to find a unique location where traffic is going to grow so you can get the lower lease rates and all that kind of stuff. I would say try to focus on what is best, what the best products are, and try to get those into the hands of people in stores. I don't know what sort of deals can be made with grocery stores to have these free handouts and stuff like that, but I think since that's working with the chili paws, it's likely to work with your other products too. That's just my recommendation.
Thank you.
Well, again, I'd say you've done a lot of very detailed work, and I would echo that the bricks and mortar business is very, very expensive. As it is, I would say the first $8,000 of sales that you bring in cover your expenses, not $5,000. And so to even get that taken care of would be the first order of business before you expand. I think it's dangerous to expand without a foundation that is solid. Secondly, I also agree you have too many products, and I would suggest to take the 9 products that you have that sell well and standardize it and have a production schedule and make sure that your production, the back of the house needs to be in order so that you will have the capacity to give maximum volume given what you have at this time. I would recommend using your current facility as a commissary production center. It wouldn't cost much to expand that. It wouldn't cost much to buy another used Hobart mixer, another convection oven. And these things can be baked in big batches. Another thing I would suggest is to have a frozen product. These are dough-based products that you can, during downtime, mix up frozen dough, and you can sell frozen dough as another product line that has a slightly different price points. Sometimes people would like to have warm cookies for their pets. Here's another line. Very easily done.
There you go.
Let's see. I'll send you the bill later. I think because this is a highly niche market, it requires good education. I would certainly recommend to put up a couple YouTube videos on your site to talk to people about the positive points about offering organic treats to pets. Most people don't know much about organic food for themselves. From your wonderful description, I wish I was a dog this evening. And so I would suggest education. Another thing is pet lovers are themselves a community. I like your having people come in, what do you call that?
Yappy hour?
Yeah, the happy hour. How about organizing, having pet owners organizing pet parties? And you have individuals going in to do pet education, have pet parties. And what else? Farmers market, another good opportunity. It's $25 to get a table at the Keller Farmers Market. I just went to look at 2 farmers markets this weekend. And it's only 4 hours in the morning, and you can bring your pets to the park and have pets sample your products. So I think by itself, now that you've invested in your bricks and mortar retail shop, it's time to maximize it. Your kitchen can be used as a expanded production center, and also the front of the shop, organize more events, bringing more people. And it may be nice to carry other people's products. I think you should spend more time touting yours. And you've got a good product, obviously. Since I haven't tasted it and I don't plan to, I take your word for it. So far.
I think you really have 3 businesses. I think you have to start out with redoing your business plan. I think you have to recognize that you're more oriented toward tomorrow and the planning and that kind of thing, and that you can't do that as well as the daily implementation. I think after you set up the recognition that there are 3 businesses, wholesale, internet, and retail, then your next step, and you've defined them, and defined what they're supposed to achieve and how they're supposed to achieve them, then I think you have to bring in somebody to head up each one of those businesses as a minority partner, with you having the option to buy them out. Okay. And I think they've got to bring in from $100,000 apiece or more. And you're going to probably pull them from people that have taken an early out, they've sold a business, they've been let go. They're around because they're putting up big bucks to get a printing franchise or a Qdoba franchise. I mean, there you've got to make a commitment of putting in at least 2 to 3 Qdobas in 5 years. You got to have $1 million cash in each one of them. So, I mean, you're peanuts compared to what even the food franchises charge. I would bring somebody in to head up each one of those as a minority partner with somewhere in excess of $100,000 apiece, hopefully with more to call. The wholesaling person or the wholesale entity, I'd find somebody that can produce for me, and I'd tie them down to a contract that'd be a damn tight contract as to how it would be produced, on the basis that you can then, through that wholesale person that's running that division, you can then go to, and your wholesale market is split into 2 parts. Well, actually 3 parts. 1, you've got the custom chains like the PetSmart. 2, you've got the wholesale retailers. Then you've got the boutiques. So it's really 3 ways. With the boutiques, for example, if you can identify who they are, the doggy stores, then you can get independent agents under that person that's running that division to sell a display package that's maybe $1,000 to set up a store where it's a worthwhile setup package of your stuff in that doggy store. And you can peddle that through independent reps. Actually, that person can set that up. As far as the internet is concerned, I think your problem is not the search engines. Your problem is that you need somebody focusing on that area. And what they're going to have to do is study the different database companies and find the ones that can provide you the database of the people who have dogs. It's out there probably somewhere in all the databases. Then the internet can mail to them, hard mail with a sample or 2, and do some test runs to see what kind of a return I get if I do a sample mailing with an order form in there. And if they like it, then they send the order form in with a credit card, or do it through the website, and they buy $29.95 or $39.95 or something like that that's worth it. So you're focusing your internet a different way. Your retail store, I think probably again you've got to bring somebody in that can be focusing on retailing, focusing on it, and where they've got some sweat and blood invested in it with some money. You're going to have to you're going to have to find the database of the owners of dogs around the store. And then you're going to have to either use a service to deliver a plastic bag that's going to have samples in it and come to the store, and you can buy our package for $39.95 that you're going to love. Suggest a package that's big enough to make the sale a worthwhile sale. And if you bring this coupon, you get 10%, 25% off of your first package. And then that retailer, also manager of your retail facilities, also sets up a retail club where that retail club, those store customers are contacted once a month with a special of the month. But the special needs, you've got to buy it within a certain time, it's got X number of dollars associated with it, et cetera, et cetera. You can mine that club in a lot of different ways. One time inside of 2 years, we went from nothing to building a landscape business here in the Metroplex from 0 to something like 2 or 3 years to $3.5 million. And it was the way that the people were hired, but the way the marketing was done to bring the two of them together. So the bottom line is, I think your situation is that you've got way too much diversity, not enough money, not enough talent on a day-to-day basis, and that's where your basic bottom line is on those three elements.
If you have a product or service you would like to present to the boardroom for advice and perhaps an investment, visit www.boardroomlessons.com.